Oh, music's a little loud. Let me just turn that down a little. That turned it up. There we go. Excellent. So, how is... Oh, there goes my back. So, today I thought I would spice things up instead of just a regular drawing stream. I've done these before, but today we're going to do a style breakdown. I just want to know so you can prepare. I'm working for some consistency. Spice. Spice. Yes, Alex, spice. So, style breakdown. Today we're going to be looking at an artist called Jun Mochizuki. She's the artist and author behind Pandora Hearts and Ventus No Cart, two popular series that both got two popular series that both got anime spin-offs. You love the soundtrack? Oh, well, do you recognize it? Do you recognize it? It is the Pandora Hearts soundtrack. Okay. Enough waffle. So I've got a couple of notes to go over today. I spent some time prepping for the stream today. Very fancy. I'm going to be going over different parts of the style in regards to... I'm sorry. I prepped, but I don't have a script, so I'm kind of just spewing. Takes out a notebook and pen. You are scary, Spicy. Thank you. And hello, Furnace. I'm going to ignore you. Moi. Different elements of the style. Things like proportion, things like movement, things like color, things like line weight. All of these things lend to a style. Enough introductions. Eat those cookies yourself? Yeah, go for it. I don't want your cookies. To start us off, I've got a lovely little sketch done lightly from what I've been able to glean from a first initial cursory inspection of the style, and I'm going to go through different elements and different art pieces done by Jun, and we will peel it apart piece by piece to see what makes it tick. Best art class ever. Yes, the teacher's like 20 minutes in and hasn't even started. Alright. So as we go on, I will be adjusting, as while we're breaking things down, I'll figure things out myself. The most important thing is proportion. Now, Jun has a very specific... Here, it might be better for this portion to just go through the full examples first. Every art class starts 20 minutes in if you're lucky, lol. Okay. Jun has a very naturalistic style, and what this means is that proportions are usually less exaggerated and closer to an actual human in reality. It's still got exaggerated anime-esque features, but you're also going to find more realistic nose, mouth, eye placement and sizing. She really likes to have the pointed jawline, and she saves square jaws for very, very specific instances of elderly men. So usually, when drawing in this style, you will have a rounded point or a sharp point, but you won't have square. If we look here, and I'll show this a few times, eyes, just like usually in anime, they like to exaggerate eye sizes and placement a lot, just for that emotive push. But Jun likes to follow the realism rule, where it's the space between the eyes is the same distance as the eye size itself. And another thing, with exceptions here and there, Jun likes to do very thin eyebrows and very tall eyelids. Goofy mouths is what I like to call them, because they're naturalistic, but they over-exaggerate past naturalization. So you've got your standard cute little ooh-woo, your standard little smile with the teeth, and then you've got massive molars, massive open mouths, very exaggerated pulls at the corner of the lips to make the mouths wide. Fun fact, actually, in interviews, Jun says that her inspiration is actually the mangaka for Full Metal Alchemist, And you can definitely see style influence from that mangaka when you go through this, especially in things like the mouth and the nose. Again, very naturalistic proportions. Head sizes are pretty standard anime, slightly bigger than normal head size. Um, Tends to not to like over exaggerate busts in characters. Even if the character has a big chest, it's usually hidden or strategically placed under fabulous clothing. Three very distinct eye shapes that she likes to work with. She likes to work with I would like to call them her typical feminine eye shape, her thin masculine eye shape, and her feminine masculine eye shape. Usually her main characters have the feminine masculine eye shape, which is like the really big but rounded and slightly straightened shape here that you'll see on Oz Visalis. Here's another goofy silly mouth, exaggerated, pulled to the edges. When Jun does mouth eyes specifically, she actually doesn't work a ton with rendering and does very minimal detailing. So for example, if I was to take all of these points and further break down eye shapes here and apply them to my sketch. Here we go, we got the feminine eye shape. There's the slight variety throughout, but you can see that general rule of thumb. Straight line, thin underneath, and the eye lines are almost hollow. So what I mean by that is instead of it being a filled in eye line with the dot with the iris, it's hollow lashes. Filled in usually with a matching hair color or slightly darker. Likes to do mixed media. And so while we'll do our best to replicate visuals, there's no way that we'll be able to actually perfectly replicate this in its entirety because June starts off with watercolor. So what she does is she usually starts with a sketch on paper, and she might or might not ink it, and she will do a light wash with watercolor. From there, she'll scan it and she'll bring it into Clip Studio. Clip Masters, let's go. And she'll do finishes. Now, since we're not doing watercolor paper, but we need to get that crisp aesthetic, I have a watercolor paper texture that we'll apply at the end, just to really sell that why did my thing disappear? There we go. Aesthetic. Let's go with her current standard protagonist, thin male eye. Now, because it's a more organic brushwork, we're going to stay away from using very thick and crisp lines, and we're going for a brush that has texture to it, like this. Like, look at that, it looks kind of pencil-y and grainy. The smaller we make it, the less noticeable the grain is, but it really does help build dimension into the work. So, let's see. Got thin angular. Usually I don't tend to like to use these grainy brushes in my own practice because then you can't make use of the automatic tools that digital programs will let you use. But we're going for a very specific style here. Now, trying to get one solid line all the way around. Now remember, the aim of the game here is to not copy, but to emulate and learn. At the end of the day, you should never make it your goal to learn you should never make it your goal to learn. You're here to not learn. Aim of the game, at the end of the day, when you study artists and their work and you try to break down and figure out how they do something, Your goal is to learn, never to copy exactly. You are trying to figure out their technique and emulate it and work it into your own practice. It'll do you no good if you learn how to perfectly copy an image that's right in front of you in like just exactly one for one. Maybe you'll learn something, but unless you can apply that knowledge to future work, then you really haven't learned anything. So, we're breaking down elements, seeing what makes this style tick, and depending on how easy or hard it is to emulate, it could be something that's worked into your future practice. Now, and again, like, there's no such thing as endgame art style. You will always be learning, absorbing, improving, depending on who you look at as an inspiration. Like, again, June, excellent example. When you look at her early Pandora Hearts days to her current Vantis days, like, let's pull up a Pandora Hearts example. Like, even here it's more rendered. So here is Xerxes' Break from Pandora Hearts. And it's very beautifully rendered, but from here to, let's say, okay, here's an even better one because this one's slightly older. This is one of her earlier covers for Pandora Hearts, and it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. But compare that to one of her new covers for Vantis. Even though she's got a style on lock and a visual that's semi-consistent, she too, even though she's on top of the world, she's got anime studios kicking down her door, begging them to let her use their stories for their marketing purposes. She is always learning. She's always improving, always changing, just like any artist worth their salt. So never feel discouraged when it gets hard and you feel like you don't want to draw anymore. You want to put down that brush because everyone's better than you. Because even the people that you think are better than you feel that way at times, and they're always trying to push past their next boundary. You only stop improving when you die. Okay, enough motivational speech. I gotta get back to quickly sketching the other eye. There we go. Now let's get those eyelids in there. Now, while June does big eyelids, June actually does something interesting, and she does heavily angled eyelids. And what I mean there is usually people tend to do eyelids that are straight up and down like this. Because, I mean, makes sense. Or they do them curved like this. Because it makes sense, it wraps around the eyeball. What Jin does, hard angle and a slight curve in at times. Here you can see the slight curve in, here you see slight rounding. Depends on the flavor of the eyeball. We'll go with the main character rounding. And angle down. Almost like a triangle. I can only guess as to why she would choose to do it that way, but it definitely invokes drama. And love how she uses the same color like the blues. It doesn't clamp and collide and look like a big puddle of blue and call it a day. She found a way to make it work and have it blend perfect. Again, that's something that someone learns to do over many, many, many years. And that'll be something that we touch on in a little bit. Her color palettes and her choices and just the juiciness of her skin. Wait, that sounds really bad. Um, Juiciness of her skin choices. Oh, no. Skin tone choices? Okay, let's remove juicy from the equation. The skin is... But it is juicy. Anyway. But her irises are very, very under-rendered. Even when colored, even the most complex, they're very simple. And that in itself is kind of striking. If a design can have enough soft detail everywhere else that you don't need opulent, over-designed elements. It's all about balance. Also, June tends to like to do two kind of depictions of an eye. She likes to do either circle iris or hexagonal iris, with a hollow dot or one stark dot, and it's very small. Pupils are always very small in her style. And that's kind of interesting, because usually in anime, pupils are like a more medium-sized, and they only hit like a single dot when like the character's like freezing up and going so it's a visual choice for sure. As well, lines at the top of the iris are usually a bit darker for her. Dark but consistent. Alright, let's get that little... We'll go for the tiny dot instead of the open iris. And here, example of both ways that the eyes are done on the same character for the same reason. The rectangle and the circle, because it is context dependent. The more closed the eye is, the more she leans into just full-on square territory. And it works, it works. Yeah, her lines are a little more crisp. And you see, it's these things that you learn through experimentation. And I don't want anyone to misunderstand. I am not perfect in the slightest, and I'm not teaching you how to do everything perfectly. I'm just showcasing how I would break down a style and how I would learn how to do something, if that makes sense. You know, we're feeling juicy, so let's do a little eyelashes, because why not? Gotta get those thin eyebrows. Thin but dark. Now, generally, when I like to draw, I like to do really, like, thicker eyebrows. You can kind of see on my V right here, that I have thicker eyebrows, which will go into our next topic as well. If you go really slow, you can sometimes get it to look okay, but the line weight is too consistent, and sometimes it's just a little jagged, it's too stiff. If you flick of the wrist, get a little bit of line weight variation, and that also lends to a more naturalistic, smooth, organic look. One thing, you can also enter the stroke slowly and exit with a flick. Now, June has a particular kind of interesting feather style when it comes to drawing hair. I consider it like a mix between feathers and ribbons. And what I mean by that is when we look close, it's in big chunks. It's usually very flat. It's not very ovular, kind of like a ribbon, and it folds in on itself. I actually do this in my artwork as well, the kind of ribboning of the hair. And I say feather because of the insane amount of volume and extra little strands and pieces. It's like she took big chunks of hair and started with that and then split them into as many small sections as she felt she could get away with before it got too busy. And here you see more feathering, more volume. It's all about the volume, all about the flow, all about it folding in on itself and how you can make that look good. Like here again, you see example of ribboning. It's kind of flat and it folds down in on itself and you see a little bit underneath there. Feathering. Here, the ponytail. Excellent example of both feathering and ribboning. So let's... Now, Jin doesn't have a ton of examples where characters have hair roots attached to the head, but here you see that you don't actually have a ton of like triangle movement. She likes to keep it very tight, very close to the scalp. So always keep that in mind. And that roots always grow out. And depending on which way your bang is falling, it will angle towards the bang. So. Okay. Jin also likes to do like kind of square, blunt cutoff bangs at an angle. Like you can see here, I've got more square and angled bangs than I usually put on my character. That's because we're going for that sharp, crisp look. How's your back? Has it healed? Oh, my ass hurts so much right now. Now here, we'll see an example of ribboning. So here, we're flicking out. We're flicking out. But here, we see it has reached a point. But we want to sell the illusion of the hair wrapping around itself, but also not being round, but being kind of like a flat ribbon. How that would happen is, in our brain, we would imagine this to be like a flat plane all the way through, and it's folded over like that. And to achieve that folded over look, you would have it bend like that. Now, we do that, but we do it with the natural way that hairs kind of like taper. You get this kind of look. So now you've got the ribboning. All right. Speaking of, YouTube's been picking up my ASMR content again. I've been getting a ton of views on some of my old videos and lots of comments, and it's always funny to wake up to a notification at like 1 in the morning. It's just like, oh my god, my legs are gone. It's just like, yes dear, yes they are. For things like different body parts, Jin likes to separate them with harsh, thicker lines. So from the head to the neck, those things would have a harsh, thicker line to separate the two of them. Like maybe hand against a book right here, thicker line, but all the lines inside of the hand would be thinner. All lines inside of the face are thinner, but connecting the ear and the head, thick. Jaw and the neck, thick. It's to add that degree of separation. That hand, yeah, no, he needs some milk. Those fingers kind of thin, though. Yeah, no, you can see. This was actually a Pandora Hearts days. This one is more modern. As her style has evolved, she's actually leaned into a more stylized, almost claw-like hand. If we peruse through here, so it's thicker. There's more meat on the bones. All of the joints In general, she does a lot of body blushing, so anywhere that the blood would rush to on a body where a joint connects, like if your hand got cold and blood rushes to your knuckles, she likes to shade that just as a normal thing. Nose, anything like that. And nails are always slightly sharp. Whereas, back in her Pandora Hearts days, everyone was a sickly Victorian child. I still love it though. But it's fascinating to see how a style evolves. And I love that the one thing that she kept this whole time was orange overtones. Or undertones? Orange tones. Orange in the skin. Orange in the skin despite whatever else is in the environment. The two genders, sharp and juicy. Yes, Alex. Yes, Alex. That's us. Tag yourself. I'm juicy. Okay. And one thing that I love about Jun's art is her rendering of all skin. Not just lighter skin, but darker skin as well. I have examples of Noe here. And he's got actually a very cool skin tone. But you still see red undertones here, whereas all the lighter skin characters have orange. It's just another little nice detail. But here, yeah, you can see that orange on the nose. See the orange on the neck shading. Still juicy. The subtle tint on the lips. It's not something that she always does, but she does do it. Make our brush thicker for the head, because now we're going to be working on the headlines. And we're going to adjust the head shape a little bit. Her heads are usually a little more tapered. I had mine a little too up and down, so we're going to adjust that right now here. Fun fact, she has a Twitter. She has two Twitters, actually. And on one of them, she posts her Genshin dailies. And also Ebe fan art. Jun absolutely based. She's an Ayato main in Genshin. She also plays a ton of gacha games. It's the OnStars. She plays lots of OnStars. And she will also post her OnStars content. Which is crazy to me, because I don't know, this woman was like one of my art inspirations, one of my art gods as a kid. It's always weird to see the people you admire just being normal humans. It's like, hey, wait a minute, you're not supposed to do that. It's like, or, alternatively, I do that. Anyway. Jun is very particular about always showing off ears. So we gotta make sure that we include those ears and that we do a very good job of them, or else we have failed. I don't tend to show off the ears a whole lot, except for when I'm showing off the earrings. There we go. For noses, she has a variety of shapes and lines that she does, but when she does just straight up lines and not shading, she tends to do a straight line down center like this. So, kind of like what I have here, she tends to do straight like that. But when she's doing illustrative work, like we're doing right here, where it's very, very colored, you tend to get more of the nose is done with blush and the nostrils. So, from what we've collected, and the angle that we're at, it looks like we need to do some nostrils. And this little angle that I've drawn here we'll use as kind of like a guide for where we put our shadows later. Are we going to do art studies often? I don't know. If you guys enjoy this, maybe? I don't know. I was just, I was inspired to do it. So I thought might as well, because it's fun. And it gives me the opportunity to do a study. Now, darker in the corners. Always, always, always. Even in general, I like doing just darker in the corners. But then let's lower. Because you've said facts that I didn't know before. Well, hey, excellent. Then I've done my job. Puts on cowboy hat solemnly and walks out of the saloon. Looks like my work's done here. But yeah, there is a reason why, like, not just her, but artists in general make the corners of the mouth darker. For one, it sells exaggeration better, and then you don't have a harsh line all the way across the mouth, which can sometimes mar the visual. But also, in reality, even if your lips are darker, having darker corners when your mouth is open sells the illusion that you've got something going on inside of your mouth, like those are the edge of your teeth, almost, and it almost gives it like a shadow. So in general, it's just good practice. Again, though it's a style-based thing, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's totally up to you. But I personally really like doing it, and a lot of people do. Like here you see, the mouth isn't harsh all the way across. It's dark in the center of the lips, and dark in the corners. And here it's a bit lighter. And then right here, it's the darkest here at the corners, even though it's a round edge. It gives off the illusion that there's some, like, inside of your mouth. Actually, if you even look at my Vroid, maybe it's a little hard to see, but the texture that I put on my model, the corners of my mouths are darker. Here too, corner, corner. Corner, corner. Now, she only does this sometimes, but I think she does it often enough that it's an important part of the style to include, so she does a lower lip line. Usually very faint, and it's also accompanied with a shadow. Let's see. Her necks are a bit thinner, except for super muscular one-off characters. They're thinner, but the lines are also thicker. So, we're going to go in, just hit that real hard. I'm just going to get rid of this shirt line. And in general, looking at the artwork, it seems to be a rule of thumb, whenever you hit a different material, the line is thicker, and when you're on the same material, on the inside, the line is thinner. It just adds a graphic degree of separation. And it's visually very nice. They're enjoying their Jolly Rancher chess pieces. Yes, yes, yes. Om nom 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 nom. If we look at the hair, honestly, the hair follows the same rule. I should probably... What I'm going to do, we're going to copy paste my line art layer, and we're going to erase all the really thick ones, and just have the hair doubled up. Because I don't want to redraw the hair. But it does need to be thicker. There we go. Let's do it again. Copy paste. And then let's erase some of the thicker inside ones to make it slightly thinner. Then we can merge that down. Inspired by me? What do you mean? Well, I was thinking of you and how much you like the show, and I'm like, oh, you know, I really love the artist. Maybe I'll do a style study of them. You know, Safi likes seeing, related media to this. Why don't I do a style study but do it on stream? Safi, little sweet bean. You're so sweet? No, I'm so opportunistic. So, one thing about Jin is that they've got a very active clothing style. And what I mean is that outfits always have a flow, have a purpose, have a reason. Very, very true to life in the way that they move, but also very dynamic, as if they're always in the middle of motion. Like, hear the way the clothing wraps around the character. It's like he just stood up fast, and it's moving behind him and billowing in the wind. Also, Gilbert, 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 Gilbert. No way, no way, no. I was gonna do something and I forgot. Once you understand where the artist you're looking at is coming from with their approach, it is a lot easier to try and reverse engineer it or even develop something unique of your own, if that makes sense. And you don't have to have like a very established artist to do this. You can do this for simple styles too. Once you understand why a choice was made, then you can replicate it, because you know what you're actually doing. Like, in my spare time, I personally do style studies of an artist called Kawasi, like, once every couple of months. And I learn something new every single time. I will never be as good as Kawasi, but I will always, always, always have him as, like, the pinnacle of what I consider to be god-tier, anime-styled artwork. Maybe we'll do a style breakdown of his work one day, but not until I feel slightly more confident. One thing about Jin's clothing is that folds are very blocky, if that makes sense. They're realistic, but they're also very solid. If you go here, lots of edges, lots of hard blocks, lots of large shapes, and it almost gives the fabric like a weight to it. It's like, it's not a thin fabric, it's a very thick, bulky fabric. Now, why don't we save doing the rest of the line art for later? And let's move on to the color. But you're not doing the line art, why would you start coloring? Because I don't want stream to be 12 hours, because I have other projects I need to do. So we're only going to color the headshot on stream, and if I finish this project, it'll be off stream. But the headshot should be enough to get what we need to learned. Yes? Using a watercolor paintbrush here. We are going digital. So we're going to have to do some fun texturing to fake it till we make it. But the most important thing to keep in mind at all times when trying to replicate a coloring style is seeing their brushwork, seeing how they approach shading, what they decide to leave out, as opposed to what they decide to keep in, that kind of thing. Looks like Xerxes has a purple shadow scheme, and June likes to do one harsh shadow and one secondary gradient shadow. So we're going to start with that secondary gradient shadow. We're going to do it with spray. Looks like they also like to lean into the oranges in the shadow as well, so we're going to pick the orange to warm up the top of the shadow, pick the purple to cool the bottom of it, have it slightly transparent, another layer, you're going to get that same purple, full harshness, and we will have our hard shadow shapes. And it looks like that she does it naturalistically, where she follows the sinews and the veins of the neck. Here you can see, falls around the Adam's apple, instead of sitting on top of it flat. Here, the Adam's apple actually stands out. Here, you see the thin trail of the neckline. If you, let's say you bare your teeth, you go, "Arrgh," you show all your teeth, you can feel the veins in your neck kind of pop out a little bit. Those are the natural necklines that shadows will fall on, and it usually falls in like a V-shaped triangle. So when shading, try to hit those. Again, none of these things are steadfast rules. You can do whatever you want. This is just how we're approaching trying to replicate this style. And since this is closer to the inside of a shirt, there'll be less light anyway, so more shadow. Edges of the shirt will probably be reflecting a shadow. So we want it dark, right where the light would be blocked by a shirt. Let's make it slightly transparent. Okay. Now, let's just combine these down. New layer. Let's start leaning into the skin blushing. So here we've got our absolute lightest skin tone, which is like a whitish cream. Here we've got that orange, that beautiful, juicy orange. We're going to go in with an airbrush instead of the brush we've been using. Looks like for an upward angle, hold on, upward angle actually we need the sharpened triangle. Everything else needs an airbrush. You can merge that down, up that. Looks like she uses a thin cone instead of going flaring on both sides. So we're going to thin cone. Looks like she likes to blur from the jaw up, give it a little bit of deepness. Also going to cut that out. Clip that. And it looks like she has a gradient from the top down. And that leaves almost a center horizontal of brightness. From here, it looks like she goes in with a pure white to highlight the cheeks. Again with the airbrush, so it's very faint. Here you see around the nose area, especially, it's a lot brighter. So we're going to go with white. I personally don't like the way that looks. Going with that orange again. Looks like here she's done what we did initially where we had orange to purple, but it's purple to orange. So we're going to grab a little bit of that purple shadow and bring it into the hairline just slightly, lightly, oh so slightly. Erase a little bit of that because that's too wide out. Here now, you can definitely see it here with Echo, but bright orange blush. On Noe, it's more of a purple-red blush, but here on Oz as well. Bright red under the eye blush. We're gonna go all on the inside of that eyeball, right there. Eyelids too. Look a little yellow actually. Make it a little warmer. I mean colder. Thank you for following, Kiwi Shroom. So, a little bit pinker. There we go. Yes, welcome to the basement. I mean, welcome to the art studio. Now that you're here, you'll never leave. Hope you enjoy your time. Now, here, if we drag it all the way around, with the exception being Noe, because he has a darker tone, all of the lighter toned characters have a very similar skin tone to light skin ratio. Again, Noe is bright white here, but he also has a slightly more deeper flesh tone than Xerxes or Echo, or even Oz. So, when picking what you want for your eye white, don't go bright white. Like, it'll look wrong. Trust me, if we go bright white like that, no. If we want to emulate, we pick our skin tone, and then we creep that up about halfway to bright white. It's just off-white enough, but it also isn't clashing with the skin tone. It feels very natural. It blends in almost. Now, it looks like eyeshadow reflects the hair color. Here you see purple, not eyeshadow, the sclera shadow. Sclera shadow here, see it's purple, there it's kind of a purpley blue, there it's blue, there it's blue, blue, orange, purple, purple. So pick from your hair color. We're gonna go with Noe's because the hair color is gonna be like a purpley black. I don't like that. Let's make it a little more saturated. Let's actually pull that from the hair shadow. There we go. Now, it's always important to remember the utility of every action you take. Why am I doing a sclera shadow? What reason does the sclera shadow have to exist? What purpose does it add? Oh, well, the reason the sclera shadow exists is because it is the shadow that comes off of the eyelashes. There we go. Once you reason something like that, you understand, oh, well, if the eyelashes are shaped like that, then the sclera shadow must follow a certain way. Maybe I want it to be thinner and tighter closer to the lashes, giving the illusion of smaller eyelashes. Like, again, once you understand the utility, the more you can play with the elements of it. Now, so we got red eyes. Why are you looking at me with them red old eyes? It's got that simple style going on, so we got a simple style of color. There we go. Beautiful ruby eyes. Oh my god, rare chance sighting. Thank you, question mark. Oh my god, rare fish sighting. Look, I'm trying, okay? I'm trying. I'm not a professional streamer, I'm a hobbyist streamer. I do it when I can, and I usually try to do it at least once a week. Twice a week. I try to do it twice a week. Twice. Listen to this dumb shit. He doesn't stream for a whole week and he can't speak. Okay. We're gonna go a little bit lighter than the actual base hair color here. And just because we're not doing lines, I am gonna go for a more harsh pen just so we can speed up fills. Because we can't use the bucket tool when we've got these these sketched lines. And no, it's okay, I'm not outing you for streaming seriously. If anything, it makes me look forward to it more when I can find. Oh, fish, you're so sweet. The stream is brought to you by the word twunce. Twunce upon a December. I'm being bullied. I'm being bullied. I can't believe this. Safi, can you believe this shit? Now, if we look closely, light, very light gradient. You can really see it in this picture here. Darker on the edges, lighter on the outside, and that's to build the illusion of shape. So, let's go a little bit darker. Now, let's get that purple shadow from earlier, and let's finish skin shading. Let's merge that down. Thin, thin. Oh wait, no, let's get that textured back in here. The Mamio pen. The Mamio. Because here, gotta get those little pips right here. Right in the crevices where the eye lines are. Again, all about the illusion of life. We're trying to create that idea that the eyeball is round, and that shadow is being cast by a round eyeball. Oh my god, it's raining outside? Nice, nice, nice. Oi, sneasel. Try to keep the shadows tight to the face unless there's like a very dramatic beam of light that's forcing all of the shadows to be starkly cast against the bottom half or the top half of your face. It just, if it's a tighter shadow, you get a cleaner look. Again, not the rule, but just a general thing to consider. Looks like there's also some blushing on the ears. Alright, are we ready for the lip blushing? The part I've been purposely avoiding because I didn't want to do it. Because I always mess it up. A little more purple in there. Gives you a tissue. Oh, thank you. A tissue for my issue. There we go. Nice little thing about this style. Bright white highlights. I like to put the white highlights on the sketch layer on the top. Well, that's just a personal thing. I'm a simp, it's my job. Oh. The only simp you are is simply way too sweet for me. And as well, because we did that earlier with the skin tone and in the not stark white, like sclera, now when we do stark white for the highlights, they actually stand out against the sclera and they give that shiny look a little more. Now, I know that I said she likes to keep things super simple, but I really want a little bit of a gradient there just for some visual variety, and we can get away with it because she does that too. So, a little bit of a gradient never killed nobody. And if it did, I didn't do anything. Okay. Everyone deserves some sweetness. Hardly have a mean bone in my body unless it's competitive gaming. What, and then are you an absolute menace? Oh my. Everybody watch out, here comes Cootie, the gaming master. Let's see, I think I want to add a little bit more orange here. Because here you can see, oh, it's really going into that orange. So let's just do that, multiply it down. I think that watercolor texture is a bit too big. Make it a little smaller. Lightens a little bit too much, but it definitely adds that kind of grainy watercolor texture that we'll want in the end. The shadow with that blush looked, yes. Now let's add some hair color. And then maybe we'll call it for the night. I've got some projects I need to get finished today. But I needed to do a little bit of a stream as well. My painkillers are non-painting. They are now repainting. So we need to reapply. Would you look at that? I forgot to color the ear. Typical chance moment. Even when I'm not playing and I'm watching my brother play a racing game, I'm like, drive, motherfucker, drive! I mean, hey, that comes with the package of being a sibling. That's standard sibling behavior. It's what all siblings sign up for when they pop out of the womb. Right, I'm gonna have to fix that ear later, but I can't be bothered right now. And then my music stopped. No. Look up for a second? Okay, I'm looking up. What are we looking for? Oh, I see what this is. You're just being a goofball. Cute little chance face? What, this whole thing? Gotta be a goofball. I gotta be a creative gremlin. No, you're not old. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're right. I am not old. Right answer. One thing June likes is her gradients. She loves her gradients. Going to hair. You've got your base, and then you've got the ring around the hair. And in that ring, there's usually 3 colors. Then, if she's feeling spicy, she'll do tips. So this is more of a... And here, if you see, even in the darker thing, there's almost like a blended out, faded secondary color. So what we're going to do, we're going to base this off the Noe hair color patterning. We're going to start here. We're going to go purple. Go a little bit brighter. We're going to use the airbrush. We're just going to, so here it's got like a circle almost hollowed out. So we're going to have the circle at the top hollowed out here. We're going to have the edges right there. We're going to almost get a little bit brighter, a little bit smaller. little bit brighter, a little bit smaller. Here we're going to start to move up and down a little bit to create that movement. From there you see, oh, there's a secondary color there. Now that one's purple, so why don't we introduce a little bit of red to, oh no, too bright. A little bit of red to the bottom of these strands here. Hello, Snipes. And thank you, Cootie, you're so sweet. You can see here that he actually colors the line art. So if we go here, and we clip a layer on top, grab, let's say, the redness, color the inside of the line art just a bit. Make it half strength. And then erase where we want it to be darkest, just the harsh black lines. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to slightly erase the red just so that you can see it poking through.
Hydrate, you bastard! Hydrate!
I'm hydrating. I'm hydrating. Alright, we've got the basic kind of loose little ring. It's not great. What I might do, actually, we're going to go into tonal correction, up that saturation. Crank that saturation up and that brightness down. We're also going to get more gradients. And just hollow that a little bit. More gradients, more gradients. Then we're going to go in with another layer and make it dark. Now here you don't see a ton of actual like shadows, but on the white hairs you do. Shadows are very strategic and they're very tiny. They're very sharp, so just tucked under. There we go. And I'm doing this in a light blue because it'll become when you put it through multiply, it'll go darker, but it'll only be slightly darker. It won't be like this insanely large change. That's not something we want. We're trying to accent what currently exists. We're not trying to override it. Looking at that jawline, and I'm not a fan. I almost feel like we could shift the jaw.
You bastard! Hydrate!
I am hydrated! I am hydrated! Oh, give me a second. I'll hydrate. There we go. That's a better jaw shape. Okay, 1 second. I've got it right here. Got my water right here. Just for you. Okay. I'm going to just blur out the shine a little bit. Overlay. can see. On the darker hair, June likes to do little flicks of light for highlights. We're just gonna little flicks of light for highlight. Too thick. Thinner. I'm just gonna merge mansion that bad boy down. Oh wait, that's the overlay. Here you can see there's a bit of a halo around the face. If you check the hair, it's actually lighter in all the tips that are around the face. How that's achieved. Clip a layer, get that nice orange, get that airbrush, and just overlay. Or add. Or glow dodge. Pick your poison. Usually I like to go overlay because it brings more of the color itself, not just the bright harshness. And if we take, I'm going to take the hair color and I'm just going to adjust the tone up the, purple hair chance, what? No. Down the luminosity just a tad. I feel like the skin could use a little bit more orange. So we're gonna go in, a little more purple actually. Because we're young today. There we go. And I feel like if we put all of this in a folder, we just did some light color adjustment with a gradient map. Curious what we get. Now this doesn't have anything to do with the style, this is just me playing around. Let's change the gradient map, I don't like that. He's from planet Afunk. Soft light, overlay, glow dodge, multiply. Let's go with soft light. Let's lower those watercolor gradients a little bit because they're a little harsh. Spell Efink backwards. It's knife. It's knife. It's knife. So there was our first attempt at breaking down Jin's style with varying degrees of success. Mostly because of the character design and the pose, I suppose. I feel like if I picked something that was very standard and straightforward, we would have gotten a closer result. But today was about the breakdown and learning how to learn, if that makes sense. Yeah, a yandere planet.